In today's world of market volatility and uncertainty, your retirement plans need to be front and center. With ever-changing tax laws, healthcare worries, and an unpredictable stock market, don't overlook the vulnerability in your retirement planning. Protecting your family and estate will be difficult with shifting policies in Washington. It's more important than ever to keep an eye on retirement.
Hi, and welcome into Eye on Retirement, the weekly show that keeps you in the know about all things retirement. I'm your host and financial advisor, Julie Newton with Market Advisory Group. I'm filling in as host for Rick Everett this episode. Along with me, we have a full complement of panelists to include tax professional Susan Curtis, Taylor Bevan with Market Medicare Advisors, and Jenna Moody with Eidelman Law Firm. Welcome in, everyone. So in this episode, we're going to be visiting about a couple that I met with recently, Jake and Dana Sherman, who claimed their complimentary consultation after one of our educational workshops. Among other issues, they were facing a tax challenge like so many of the people that we talked to. So I'll go first to Susan Curtis with Market Tax Services. Susan, can you share a little bit of your time with Jake and Dana and what you experienced?
Jake and Dana had a lot of questions about how their taxes would be affected due to a sale of a capital asset. Jake's parents passed away a few years back, and they decided him and his siblings ended up holding on to the property for a while because they did not have time to get the property ready for sale. And due to that, they were very concerned with what their taxes were going to look like.
That's a pretty common approach, isn't it? Because, you know, there's that sentimental piece sometimes for people, you know, it's family, farm, or that kind of thing. And so they want to hang on to that property a little longer. But sometimes that has big tax implications, doesn't it?
It does. When you sell a capital asset, you run into the potential of a capital gain. And since they held on to the asset for so long, they had a very large capital gain, and they were very concerned about how that was going to impact their tax situation.
You know, we see that a lot with folks. You know, they come in for something, you know, that maybe doesn't seem like it's the major problem, but then we come across something like this where taxes could be a pretty significant deal. But what makes this even worse is, or I shouldn't say worse, but a little more complex probably, is that Jake and Dana were both still working. So they had income other than just the sale of that property and capital gains.
Correct. So with their income level, which was very high, and the capital gain on the sale, we had to look at what would happen to their tax liability if Dana decided to start taking Social Security. And in their situation, her Social Security, it was enough to push them into the next higher tax bracket. So for their case, they were better off waiting until 2025.
So this isn't a conversation that they could necessarily have had with their existing advisor because, unfortunately, you know, their advisor may have been doing a great job, but they didn't work with tax professionals like we did. And so they probably weren't getting the kind of advice that they really needed in this situation.
Correct. I mean, you know, if they didn't have a tax advisor and they were just going through their financial advisor, it could have been very costly to them. They could have incurred thousands of dollars in extra taxes because the financial advisor could have overlooked the sale of the capital asset and not factored in the capital gains tax.
So basically, it's a matter of not just having a full team that can work on this for you, like we are fortunate to have, but it's also knowing where to look and where those most common issues arise so that we can start looking for those issues. Because if someone were to just bring you in a 1040, for example, and say, here, this is my tax situation, what do I need to do? if you didn't know the questions, if all you did was prepare a return, you might not know where to look, right?
Correct.
So it's really important to make sure that you know what those pitfalls can be for retirees so you can be looking for those kinds of things. Because as we always say, if all we're doing is filling out a tax return, we're just recording history and we're not really planning for those unknown obstacles.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. So there's a lot more to making the decision when to draw Social Security or when to sell property than just whether you can. Having a full team of advisors to help you plan can make all the difference between whether you get through retirement without a really big tax bill or other kinds of expenses. So it's really important to know who to work with. Make sure you're working with that full team. If you'd like to have a complimentary, no obligation visit with this team at Market Advisory Group, give us a call at 316-252-8707 or check out our website at ionretirement.com. When we come back, we'll talk with Taylor Bevan of Market Medicare Advisors about how Dana and Jake's income could affect their Medicare benefits in the future.
Out on the water, there is a moment. Perfect synchronization. The team working together in harmony to reach their goal. Now, imagine finding a team of financial professionals to help run your course down the river of retirement. Market Advisory Group is that team. Financial advisors, tax professionals, estate planning attorneys, and Medicare advisors. All in the same boat. If you don't have a team like this in one place, it can become a hassle to relay information between them. When you come to Market Advisory Group, we bring everyone together for you. To get you answers in real time. To help make sure you don't miss something that puts your unique plan off course. You shouldn't be the one doing all the work to keep your retirement on pace. You should have a team in the boat with you. Your voice telling them where you're at, where you'd like to end up, and how you want to get there. And at that point, everyone falls into sync, all pulling in the same direction, toward the same purpose. Your retirement's financial security. We are Market Advisory Group, proud sponsor of Shocker Rowing.
Welcome back into Eye on Retirement. So we're continuing the story of Jake and Dana. We just finished talking with Susan with our Market Tax Services team about how she was able to show Jake and Dana why it was better for them to wait to start Dana's Social Security benefit. But income can have an effect on more than just the amount you pay in tax or on your Social Security benefit. In this situation, since Jake was still working, he and Dana are covered by his employer insurance. So even though they're both over 65, they didn't have to start Medicare yet. So we're going to go to Taylor Bevan with Market Medicare Advisors. So Taylor, is it always the case that if you already have insurance, you don't have to start your Medicare yet?
No, Julie, that actually isn't always the case. The most important thing is that it has to be creditable coverage. And so that means that it has to be at least as good as what Medicare offers. So if it's not going to cover what Medicare would cover for you in those situations, then you might need to look in to make sure that it is actually qualify as credible coverage per Medicare's standards.
Okay, that's important information to know because, you know, I know a lot of people they think that the minute they reach age 65, it's time to start Medicare, or they forget to, because they've got that creditable insurance, or they think they do. But what happens if they don't have health insurance? What if they retire at age 60 and they've started that, maybe they went with Affordable Care Act or something like that? Can they sign up for that instead of signing up for Medicare?
So unfortunately, ACA is not considered credible coverage. There's actually a line when you are signing up for the ACA policy that states you understand that when you turn 65 and become Medicare eligible, that you are no longer qualified for the Affordable Care Act. And then you have to go and make a switch to what other options that you would have as far as the Medicare, the Medigap, or the supplement.
Awesome. Okay. So what about Dana and Jake? Were you able to help them make their Medicare decisions and choices? Were you able to work with them and kind of help them navigate? Because I know there's just so many options out there to get through.
Yeah, so we actually were able to look through their existing prescriptions and the current doctors that they were already going and seeing for, their just wellness checkups and any other things that they had to keep an eye on. And once we made sure that their medicine was going to be covered and that the doctors that they wanted to continue to see were going to be in network, we showed what their options were and the differences, because there are a few different options you have, that you can make when coming to choose how you want your Medicare insurance to look like.
And that's really important. So it's more figuring out what to do with Medicare or what to set up for yourself. It's more than just, what are my Medigap choices or, things like that. There's a whole lot more to that, that kind of decision, working with a team that can sit down with you and go through all of those things rather than just sort of signing up for the very first thing you see online or the first person that comes to your door. So in Jake and Dana's case, it was a little more complicated than just making those choices based on doctors and prescriptions and such. So they had sale of inherited property that was going to affect their premiums. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so with the sale of that asset and the capital gains, that would increase their income for the year that they had that sale. And when it comes to Medicare, most people, they have just the base premium that they pay for their Part B and their Part D prescription drug. However, there is what is called IRMA, the income-related monthly adjustment, and that is affected by your income 2 years back. And so your premium for your Part B and your Part D could go up depending on if you go over that threshold that is set. And there's a few different tiers to that threshold. So depending on how far over they were to go over the threshold, they could be paying back a significant amount of their Social Security benefits had they chose to start their Social Security along with the sale of that asset.
So it's really important then, at least that's what I'm hearing you say, that it's really important to just kind of look at all aspects. So it's not just about one piece. It's not just about looking at, what are my choices? Because you said that they'll look back at your income for 2 years. So if someone had sold a property a couple of years ago, that may or may not affect what their premiums are. And so you have to have a good idea of what that is and what that could look like. And it's not just for when they start Medicare. It could be in the future. So let's say in 2 years they inherit another piece of property and their income goes up again. It could affect premiums in the future even more significantly, right?
Right. So they're always watching your income to look for when they can increase those premiums. And unfortunately, they will automatically increase your IRMA, but they will never automatically decrease it. And so once you hit that threshold and they rate your premiums up, you will stay at those premiums until your income either drops back down and you make the changes and take the time to send the information to them. But they will never automatically rate it back down. And so we have several clients who have been paying the IRMA charge, and they didn't realize that all they had to do was come to us and we were able to get some paperwork faxed off and get it taken care of for them. So a very simple step, but most people don't know how to do that step.
So it's great to know that our team can help folks sign up for Medicare and make the decisions. But our team goes that extra step further. We can actually help people save money. And it isn't just people who are our clients. It's people coming in that have met with us for the very first time. And if I pull you into the conference room, you can say, hey, look at this. And you can go through and see all of those possibilities. And you do that, right?
Yeah. Multiple times we have had, an advisor just come down the hallway and say, hey, I'm not sure, do you have a meeting coming up? And it's like, you look at your calendar, we've got the time. So we go down to that conference room where they've already been sitting there and meeting with the client. And we just have that discussion to see, what they have going on and what ways we can help them with what their situation.
So there's a lot more to making the decision when to draw your Social Security or when to sell property than just whether you can. Having a full team of advisors to help you plan can make all the difference between whether you get through retirement without a really big tax bill or other kind of expenses. So it's really important to know who to work with. Make sure you're working with that full team. If you'd like to have a complimentary, no obligation visit with this team at Market Advisory Group, give us a call at 316-252-8707. You can also check out our website at ionretirement.com. We have offices in downtown or on the west side, so feel free to take advantage of those convenient locations. When we come back, we'll talk with Taylor Bevan of Market Medicare Advisors about how Dana and Jake's income could affect their Medicare benefits in the future.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back into Eye on Retirement. We've been talking about Jake and Dana and how the complete team was able to save them money on taxes and healthcare insurance. But what about the estate planning piece? So in Jake and Dana's situation, Jake's parents had done a really good job with the estate plan so that when he and his sister inherited property, it was pretty seamless, pretty uneventful. But in Jake and Dana's situation, they didn't have their own estate plan. And so they wanted to make sure that everything was passed seamlessly on to their children, like it was to them. And so, Jenna, Eidelman Law Firm, how were you able to jump into this conversation with Jake and Dana and help them with their estate plan?
So Jake and Dana, really nice couple. They had 3 children, and they just wanted to come in and ask the most common questions that we typically get. They asked, how do I make sure that my assets stay out of probate? And then how do I make it easier on my kids? I mean, that's the most common thing that we get. I just don't want to pass them a mess. And so the first step, really any client is getting more information. Talking to them, getting to know their situation, because every client has a unique situation. Every single person is different. And so it really requires careful planning from our attorneys to really look at the situation and see what best fits them.
When people come in and we schedule that appointment with one of the attorneys, frequently they're like, okay, what kind of questions are they going to ask? What do I need to bring in? But it's really just a conversation about what's most important to them. Figuring out, my situation isn't like everybody else's. Just bring your information, come in, sit down, have a conversation, and we'll kind of take it from there. So was that your experience with Jake and Dana?
Absolutely. The attorneys, they looked at Jake and Dana's situation, and they determined that we really needed to start from scratch. They didn't have anything. They didn't have, anything in place for after they were gone, but they also didn't have anything in place for while they were still alive. So, powers of attorney for finance, powers of attorney for health. But looking at their situation and kind of having that conversation with them, while they wanted to make things easy, they also wanted to implement some controls. Because while they had 3 children, one of their children had a spouse that he liked to spend money. And so they really wanted to make sure that they were protecting their children's inheritance. And so in that conversation, the attorney just decided, a trust is probably better for you, because they didn't want the kids to inherit a large sum of money all at once. And they didn't want the children to get it until they were a little bit older so that they could be a little more responsible with it. So outlining that, those preferences in a trust was more appropriate for them.
So it's not just important to have those really in-depth conversations when it comes to meeting with the estate planning attorney, but it's also really important to understand that family dynamic, because let's face it, every family is a little bit different. There's always going to be, things that we need to consider. And in this case, they were able to actually look at, okay, this person may not be the best with money, but we don't have to worry about, how we pass on our assets, because we've got the right team looking at this and helping us work through that.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of our situation, is that we can all sit down together at the same conference table. Market Medicare, Market Tax, the Eidelman Law Firm, Market Advisory Group. We're all sitting there together. We're all having the conversations and picking up those pieces that the others might not be qualified for, or wouldn't understand to know we need to ask those kinds of questions. So it's really, really important that we all have those conversations together so we get all the information we need.
And I find that a lot of people, when they come to see us, that's one of the biggest reasons that they come to see us, is because they want that opportunity to kind of look at all of the pieces together, because it all matters. It all affects, as we talked to Taylor, things really did affect them. The tax piece affected the Medicare. So being able to sit down and have that conversation is really helpful to people. Do you find that people are uncomfortable when they come in and sit down and we have a whole team all at once ready to chit chat?
I think so. Some people find that it is an uncomfortable conversation to have. Estate planning sometimes make people think, oh man, I'm going to do this, and then tomorrow is going to be my last day. But that's not the case. That's so not the case. We're helping people understand that They have a plan in place for the what if in the future. And we don't need to worry, it gives people peace of mind, knowing that they have a team around them, that their kids are going to be able to come in, ask questions of our team. And it kind of gives people that sense of peace, knowing that everything is going to be okay.
Exactly.
It's taken care of.
Exactly. And it's, you just nailed it right there. It's that communication piece. So not just communication within the family dynamic, but also that communication piece with your complete team, because you really need to be able to have those conversations and make sure that you are getting the complete advice that you need. Whether it's Medicare or whether it's taxes or it's estate planning, having a complete team with you can make all the difference in the world. There's a better way to plan for retirement. You don't have to make different appointments all over town, maybe even weeks apart, where you are the linchpin to communicate to your financial advisor what was said by the Medicare advisor or what your tax advisor said to your estate planning attorney. If you would like to have a no obligation complimentary visit with us, give us a call at 316-252-8707. That's 316-252-8707. Or you can check out our website at ionretirement.com. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Julia Newton, along with everyone here, reminding you that we're here to keep an eye on retirement.
Unless otherwise indicated, all client and prospect names mentioned on this show have been changed to protect the identities of the individuals discussed. Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns are not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not in any way refer to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing insurance company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. The guest commentators featured in this show are not investment advisor representatives of Foundations and do not provide advisory services. Market Advisory Group does have several investment advisor representatives that can provide such services. This is not endorsed or affiliated with any U.S. government agency, the Social Security Administration, or associated with any federal Medicare program. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all of your options. A Roth conversion may not be suitable for your situation. The primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. The information provided is to help you determine whether or not a Roth IRA conversion may be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Please review your retirement savings, tax, and legacy planning strategies with your legal/tax advisor to be sure a Roth IRA conversion fits into your planning strategies. All rights reserved.